Welcome to the Girl Dad Show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Dad Show. I ended up running out of time the last episode, so I apologize for the break and splitting up my 5-year sprint into 2 episodes. Here is part 2 of season 5, a finale episode, sharing my 5-year sprint that I've been running in tandem with the show. And I think when we left off, I was just kind of sharing about my midlife crisis that I had and walking through just how to financially plan for the rest of my retirement and not being satisfied with the norm and having this really deep conversation with my wife and seeing how I could try to do something different and make a really big bet on us. And that led to us moving to Austin, Texas to lower our cost of living so we can make bets. We've tried a lot of different investment vehicles and ways to generate cash and time freedom ultimately. And through that process, I learned that I was a really good consultant and operator and was able to design an operating system that I call the owner's manual system, operating system. And I started helping a lot of different clients with it. And then seeing that it worked, I started testing it on myself and that started to work. And just to catch you up, that was the brief overview, but please go listen to the first part of this if you haven't, because it does set up the next stage a little bit more clearly. But I do want to jump from there and give you a quick catch up on what we talked about at part 1. So now I'm in this situation where I'm trying to take a 5-year sprint to really try to maximize our ability to bet on ourselves so that my wife and I could have a above average work life for the next 25 years and in our retirement have a above average lifestyle as well too. And I kind of walked through this operating system. And once I realized that it worked well and I could do it on myself, I started crafting out a plan because there's 2 things that happened when that happened. One is I knew that it could work because I tested it on a bunch of different clients. I tested it through other people proxies, and then I tested it on myself. And that gave me a lot of comfortability and a lot of confidence really. And so I started really daydreaming about what I would want to do with this and what I wanted to do with my kind of life. And it kind of started to stem this like desire to think about what it would look like when I had cash flow. So if I did have cash flow and I was successful, I put my mind in the state of this cash flow is coming in a few years, what would I want to spend my time doing? And I really had to like imagine and envision, and it was a lot easier to do because the confidence in Blue Ocean started giving me that confidence to daydream about it. And when I think about what I want to do for the rest of my life, I don't want to retire because I love working and I love the act of meeting people and doing stuff, but I was starting to put myself in a position of financial security. And when I think about what I want to do and have meaning and purpose, it was really around helping more people enter the middle class. And I think that I could do that uniquely through business ownership or training people on operating systems to help them have their business provide them what I was able to figure out for myself. And I started reverse engineering what that would take for me to do that. And so there's a couple of ways that I'm doing that. One is I have a rule where if you stay with me for a certain amount of years, depending on the business, I start giving equity away to my employees. And I think that's a really easy way for me to do that in these cash flow service businesses, because then they can start making money through equity value and make more money than just them working hourly, as well as them making money even when they're not working hourly in exchange for money. And so that's one way that I can do that. And then the second way was to help find people that are function experts or passionate about something, and I could provide them this operating system to mitigate the risk of having them start their own business to do it on their own so they could build their own equity. And as I started going down this road, I realized that a lot of people were unable to do it for the cash concerns. And so my thought process was, how can I create an ecosystem of businesses that gives me the cash flow so that I can invest in them and provide that cash security, and then also have an operating system that I can coach them through to help them mitigate their risk of business knowledge and understanding. And then that led me to the last thing. I could basically solve both problems at once by building a incubator. And the concept came is that if I was going to be building these service businesses, why wouldn't I build service businesses that basically help the service businesses that I eventually want to help? And so that's the big play. The big play over the last 4 years has been to basically amass these incubators. So I have Owners Club that gives you an operating system that helps you get to your first $2 million in annual revenue. Through that process, you need a lot of things. You need marketing, and that's where I have Honey and Hive. Honey and Hive is my digital marketing agency. Then you need video and content and distribution. So you get Flipboard Films for that, which is my video production company. And then you also need sales training and sales conversion rates, sales knowledge, sales practices, sales enablement. And that's where Next Up Leader comes. That's my sales coaching and service business there. And then I wasn't able to figure out the HR side yet, but I do have preferred vendor partners that I do love working with. And so hopefully that'll continue to be a great situation. If not, I will eventually build out one for HR as well. And then the last one was bookkeeping and accounting. Again, I haven't done this one either. I just have really good partner network, vendor partner network. So I just refer them out as to people that I trust and believe in, but maybe I'll come back and do that one day as well. And then as they get to the $2 million threshold, they start needing more stuff than a coach. They need someone to actually actively be in the business. Then we move them into Thesis, which is my fractional CFO and strategy and operations business, where we help companies go from that 7 figures to 9 figures through actual involvement inside the business. Like we actually become the CFO in the business and help those businesses scale. And then each one of these has been building over the last 4 years and starting to actually cash flow. And as they cash flow, that cash flow then allows me to add more businesses through the ecosystem to test the incubator and see how it works. So far, I've gone Blue Ocean through it. I've gotten Rebel June, a tattoo cosmetics company, through it. I have Progressive Motion going through it, my wellness gym. And now I have a bunch of other businesses that I've been acquiring or investing in, like Gatsby Glass, Lumen Blinds. Both of them are franchises in North Austin. And so testing those things in it, and then also any new companies that I'm building. So the idea is that you'll have this incubator that is basically comprised of service businesses that help you actually operationalize your business from the get-go and get it to scale. And then through the process, all the services that you need, you can actually use one of my companies to get you there. And they already know my methodology and my operating system because they also went through it. So it's kind of this like weird, like cyclical, like incubator. And then my goal is by next year, the year after, I will have all of these things filled out. And so I should be able to find a really good participant or willing participant that I can convince to start a business and basically match them up with the Owners Club coach and then run them through the gauntlet and see if they have the same success rate as I do. Right now, I'm hitting pretty high. I'm like high 70% success rate in getting a business to $1 million in my portfolio of companies. And I'm hoping that it'll stay that high. And if it's even a little lower, it's okay because that's still a really high conversion rate of success through this incubator. And at scale, if I can do 5 or 10 of these a year, I can help a lot more people build equity in business asset and hopefully enter the middle class. And so that is the big play. That's actually the big play that I'm trying to do, is this big incubator, so I can build businesses at scale so that I can eventually have the time freedom to do what I actually want, which is spend time with my family, work on my mental health and also and my physical health, and also provide value through something that I feel is going to be something that I want to do for the rest of my life, which is help more business owners or more people become business owners and learn how to enter the middle class through business equity. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think that it's a really, really fun thing for me to explore. And it kind of doubles down into something that I also researched, which is really timely as well, because, you know, it's a great time to do this 5-year sprint, not just for the financial reasons, but I mean, I'm kind of jumbling this story up a little bit, but the main reason why I'm doing this 5-year sprint and that time 5 is actually so specific is that, you know, sociologically and science-based, I don't know what the science, I guess it is science-based, yeah. Psychologically and sociology, there's a lot of research that says young girls, kids, really bond with their mom from the ages of like 4 to like 11, 4 or 5 to like 10 or 11. And they're trying to figure out what their roles are, what it means to be a young lady. And there's a really closeness, natural closeness with their mom. And then as they enter puberty and start getting into becoming a young woman, they start bonding really well with their dads. And again, there's obviously exceptions to the rule, and I'm just talking very generically, but there's a lot of studies that show that this happens naturally. And so my thought process was, if I was going to ever make this bet, because I want to make it, I should take advantage of the time that I have with my kids and maximize it when they not necessarily need me less, but in the map of life, I'm not fighting uphill, I'm actually rolling downhill. And using this time to really maximize and invest as much time and energy as I can in making a bet on this for my family and for myself during the time that they may or may not need me less. And the idea is when they need me more, I'll have more time freedom because I'll have built a lot more cash flowing businesses. And that was kind of the impetus of even starting that 5-year sprint and why it was so specifically 5 years. Because a lot of people ask me why I'm trying to do 20 businesses in 5 years. And it has a lot to do with the fact that, there's the number metrics of the amount that I want and then expecting 50% of that to go away. But I also think there's a lot that has to do with the timing of my kids' journey and just me wanting to be there for them and being able to have the time freedom to do that. Okay, so now let's talk about where we're at right now. So right now, by the time you listen to this, it will be middle of May. And oh man, I won't have added any more. So I'm currently at 15 businesses. And I mean, technically I have a lot more than that, but some of them are just more like holding co's and real estate assets and things like that. So I'm not counting those. I'm not counting any passive companies where they're just investment vehicles for liability reasons or investments into startups. I'm talking about active service businesses, right? So there's 15 of those. And I don't think I'll hit my 20 goal. I'm not going to say that out loud too many more times, but realistically speaking, it'll probably be 17 by the time November comes and I start to slow down and really focus on tampering down the business, operationalizing and optimizing them and making them cash flow. But here's the things that I want to share with you because this is the honest truth. What's really fun is there's a lot of things I got wrong with this plan, this analysis. And some of the biggest things that I got wrong have a lot to do with the unit economics and the time it takes for these service businesses. Service businesses are slow. And I will say that I'm still not cash flowing on any of my businesses, even though I've been doing them for 4 years. I expect that I will have 2 of them start to cash flow from, well, that's not true. I have some of them that are cash flowing a minimal amount, but I do have 2 of them that'll be a substantial amount starting the next year. So not this year, but next year. Sorry. I don't know why I'm making this more complicated. Starting end of next year, meaning it will have been a full 6 years before I'm seeing any of these businesses actually cash flow for me. Granted, some of them have started more recently, so it's not a fair analysis, I should say. But just to talk more generally speaking, the point I'm trying to make is if you are going to go down this road and you are interested in building a service business for cash flow and time freedom and security and all those things that just know that it takes a lot longer than software or venture-backed companies. The margins are just lower and the capex is heavier. So by the time you pay off all the capex and you just need a higher volume, and higher volume comes through speed and effort and all those things, or just more capital. But even with more capital, you still need the time for those lower margins to catch up to you. So the volume has to be bigger because the margins are smaller to actually even satiate your needs financially. And then in addition to that, the bigger you try to make it to get that lower profit margin to be big enough to support you, the more capital you need and the more time you need to get it to that scale. There's a lot of moving pieces in service businesses and it's a lot trickier than I thought it was going to be. So that's something I didn't calculate, how long it would take to cash flow. I was kind of enamored by all these people buying cash flow businesses that were already profitable and blah, 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 blah. Just really hard to do for me because I started doing this journey right at the ramp up of COVID and there was so much money in the market and private equity was just overvaluing all the service businesses to buy. So I ended up building them because I knew I could do it cheaper. Prices have come down a lot and so I am now buying and investing. But the first 3 years, it's just all been building from scratch. And so because of that, I won't have hit my cash flow goal until 6th year. So, but even when you buy, I mean, you're still paying debt servicing, unless you're buying it cash out. It's just one of those things. Just know that if you're going down this journey, it takes a long, long time to cash flow. So I'm in a lot of pain right now and just enduring a ton of emotionally, physically, mentally, but also financially, because I'm having to work like nonstop on my consulting business to make the money to feed my family and also go invest and buy and build these businesses. Because these businesses are actually, in some cases, losing me money. And so just keep all of that in mind. The second thing is, the good news is I don't think I actually needed to hit 20 businesses doing $1 million each, cash flowing whatever amount I thought they would do, because even at 17 businesses, I have 5 businesses that are doing over $1 million. And by the time my 5-year sprint ends, it'll probably be 6. And what's really fun is that 2 of my businesses do over $5 million. And so the thing that I didn't calculate for was that the quantity I was hoping to have $1 million businesses, $21 million businesses, but I may not hit that number, but I'm definitely getting very, very close to a higher revenue mark than I was originally thinking through. And it's pretty exciting to think about because there's a lot of things that you can do with that, whatever that date I just gave you. But for me specifically, it's just like you have to make a goal and you have to shoot for the stars and then you may hit the top of the mountain, right? But if you don't have a goal that you shoot for, it's hard to start moving. So I don't like to spend too much time hypothesizing on what this goal is and then articulating it perfectly, because just like any business or any startup, 90 things will change within the first 90 days. And so I just kind of put out a goal to try to strive for. And I'm going to try my best to keep hitting it because it's what I said I was going to do. And I don't want to regret this, but I'm also not too hung up on the fact that I may miss my numerical, because there's a lot of different things that I learned about this industry and the whole co and building a portfolio. And there's a lot of things that are different. And so, I'm okay. I'm okay with two doing 5 million instead of, 20 doing 1 million. And I'm okay only having 17 businesses. And it's okay. I mean, obviously I'm going to try to get 20, but I'm also okay with it. It's fine. The goal was there to get me moving, to get me singularly focused, to make it easier for me to do decision matrixing when I had to sacrifice something to achieve the goal. It wasn't there for me to like perfectly hit it, or like I consider this a failed exercise. Not at all. So that brings me back to the cost factor of what this all took. This was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I have never worked harder in my life, and more so because I still protect my time with my family, and I make it a point to hang out with them. I try to count hours on everything. I track every hour that I live, and I try to spend at least 30 hours a week with my kids. I know it's not about time quantity, but also quality. But at the same token, I do want to have quality time, and I do feel like I do a good job there, make it really fun for them when I'm with them. But I also wanted to have those time goals. And so I try to maximize that as well too. And that usually just ends up me not sleeping as much, because you can't just stop being a father and you can't stop being a husband, or else none of this will work because there's no one to high five at the end, which is counterintuitive to doing this thing to begin with. I'm doing it for my family, not for, well, I guess I am doing it for me as well, but I'm doing it for myself and my family. And I want to make sure I have them intact when I'm at the end of the road. So yeah, so because of that, I've just worked 7 days a week and I'm kind of always on. And to be honest with you, it's not terrible, because it's not that I'm like nonstop working. I also mix in family with business. And I've been really playing out this idea of like work-life integration. I love being a dad. I love being a father, but I also love business and I love making money, and it's all kind of intertwined for me. And I just like being able to go do it all and fit it all in with the best way that I can. And luckily I'm a business owner, so I have that luxury of being able to control when and what happens and where. And basically it's my money, and it's sacrificing my gain. So when I make those sacrifices, so I can make those calls, and sometimes they're not the best calls, but yeah, I just believe in this work-life integration model. But it is very hard. It's been a really long 4 or 5 years, 4.5 years, 4.25 years. I'm really excited on slowing down, because I think in November, the biggest thing I'm going to do is just take a deep breath, focus on making some more money, paying off some of these debts, letting the businesses grow, and actually operationalizing and optimizing them so they can start to cash flow. Because right now I've just been gunning all of them to grow as much as I can. Okay, so that was kind of the journey getting here and how hard it was and the level of sacrifice it took to get there. I forgot to mention, I should probably share this as well too. I started running out of money to do all this by year 2 or 3. That was something else that I learned from this exercise and process, is that service businesses are incredibly capex heavy, especially like home services, but even professional services are capital heavy. In order to grow, you have to hire someone, and then they're usually not effective for 6 weeks to sometimes even 3 months. So you have to burden that salary for 2 or 3 months until they're actually even utilized. And even then you have to like calculate for the fact that there's going to be times where they're not utilized either. And so, that's something that I severely underestimated, is the capital intensity of this. And so by year 3, I've had to raise money and fundraise for a lot of my businesses. And, that adds a whole nother level of work and pressure. And oh my gosh, it's insane to think about. I mean, fundraising is literally the worst role and job you can have in business ownership. So if you're ever thinking about it or entertaining it, just buckle in, take a deep breath, kiss your wife, maybe even kiss your co-founder. I don't know. But it's going to be tough, and you're going to be very emotionally scarred and mentally battle hardened multiple times on a daily basis. Yeah, it's been a rough few years. I can't tell you how excited I am this year, my 5th year, that I'm already ramping up to slow down. And so I've been working on my health a lot, and I've been working out a lot more. Took up boxing, I took up golf, and I'm eating healthier and choosing better food options for myself, and trying to focus on sleep, because when November hits, I don't want it to be super jarring, and I kind of want to like lean into it, kind of ride it out. So I am starting to like already in the process of optimizing for my health. I have been really, really quiet about all this, I will tell you, because a very specific reason. I talk a lot and I share a lot, on my podcast, but also on LinkedIn. I post daily and sometimes even twice daily. And I document my life on my Instagram and kind of share everything that I'm doing. And I just stopped sharing about this incubator plan with the 5-year journey and the sprint until now, because my first year I started telling people about it and I started hatching the plan and formulating it and started telling people about it. I believe that I can, maximize the 5 years that my girls need me the least. I think I can, use an operating system to help operationalize service businesses. I think that I can build an incubator to help Americans at scale own businesses and have each one of those be a service business that is also cash flowing, that feeds back into the ecosystem. I believe that I can do 20 of these in 5 years so that I can cash flow $2 million a year, with the hope that, that they all survive. But if they don't, worst case scenario, 50% of them will, and that'll equal $1 million plus a year in free cash flow to continue back into the ecosystem, and then live out the rest of my life in more time freedom. And then the work that I do will be helping more Americans build business and enter the middle class. I mean, it just sounds ridiculous, even saying it right now, even repeating it, it sounds kind of silly. And it was really hard because I would tell mentors, I would tell friends, I would tell family. My first year doing this, it was just received with a lot of negativity, not intentionally, not malicious or anything. Just like I said, it seemed phantasmical, right? It sounds like too ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? And people kept telling me to slow down, do one business really big. It's not going to work, or you're going to risk too much. It's a lot of your time wasted or money wasted, time and money wasted, the sacrifice to your health, sacrifice to your family. I mean, there's just a lot of things, and there's a lot of holes in the plan, right? Like, and I knew that. I didn't have an answer for everything, and I also think that it sounded crazy too, but nobody meant harm. Can undoubtedly say that every one of my friends, family, and mentors didn't mean me harm by being negative about it. But it started doing something to my psyche. It started seeping negativity into my brain, and you have to be delusionally optimistic to do this. Any business, let alone anything that's kind of out of your norm, because my natural reaction is also to be pessimistic or pragmatic. I should say, not pessimistic, but it's naturally to be realistic and pragmatic. I love numbers. I love data. And this was not something that seemed good because it wasn't about linear growth. It wasn't like, okay, we did 1 million this year, so we're going to optimize these things, and we're going to do 1.2 million this year. It's like, it's not this optimized linear growth. It's literally the exercise of, here's who I am right now in this moment. What do I have to change about myself over the next 5 years to be this person? And so you're kind of completely having to rewrite who you are and how you operate, because linear growth would never have helped me get this technical skills, or linear growth would never have gotten me to be the person that I am now. I had to completely think about things differently. My mindset had to completely change. The way I think about problems had to completely change. The network I have access to has to completely change. There's so many things that would have to change for me to be a portfolio owner of a holdco of 20 businesses that builds and develops and does this whole thing. Like, the person that does that is not the same person that I was even 5 years ago. And so I knew that. I just didn't know what it looked like. So I just knew that I needed to change, and I needed to be optimistic, and I needed to be optimistic enough to go for it, so that I kept learning as I did the process of failing. And I was already failing. I was already insecure. I was already nervous about it. And when I heard some of my most trusted people also seed that same insecurity back to me, again, they don't mean any harm, and I started it and I already felt it. But when they started doing it as well, it like started to make it harder to keep moving forward. So for whatever it's worth, just make sure that, like, if you're trying to do something a little above normal or extraordinary, or something that's out of the norm, I shouldn't say extraordinary, but like something that's out of your normal, just be very mindful of self-talk and the people that are around you. It's good to have realistic feedback. And of course, if you have stuff in your teeth, you want friends and family to tell you have stuff in your teeth and those things. But if you're on a path and you truly believe in something and you want to do it and you need that delusional optimism, my recommendation is just do it in silence, because maybe, I don't know, maybe that's the wrong advice. That's what I did. I just did it in silence, and I stopped talking about it for 4 years. And it really helped me a lot. It helped me to stay positive and just grind through and stay focused on just my mental headspace of, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail forward. It's okay to learn, but you believe this can happen. If your operating system is true, which it is, and you can do it at this, then why couldn't you do it in an incubator? If you could do that, then why couldn't you do it for other businesses? And then you have this whole thing. I believed in it. All those things were true. And so I was quiet. And the reason why I'm talking about it now is that I don't I don't need to defend myself anymore. Not that I needed to before, but I don't need to. It's okay. People can be negative and they won't be because I did it. So we're like 5 years in, and obviously I didn't do 20, but I have a great incubator. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's really good and it works really, really well. And I have coaches that are coaching businesses that I own that I'm not even involved with. I have businesses that are going to be generating a ton of cash flow next year. And I can foresee that by the end of next year, I will have the option of time freedom. Quite literally, I'll be making more than I did as a W-2, whether I work or not. And that's a really interesting feeling, you know? And so it gives me a sense of confidence to start talking about it because I do want more people to know that this was not an easy journey, but I do think it's possible. I don't think that I'm extra special or I don't think that I'm necessarily smart. I just feel like I was just dumb enough to do it. And so I want to start sharing it and I want to start talking about it. One, because I want to help more people own a business. There's that self need to help more people and feel fulfilled in my life. But two, I also just want people to know that it is possible to take a step up and go do something even at the age of 40. I mean, I'm 45 right now and I'm the best shape in my life. I'm feeling a lot better about myself. I'm stronger than I've ever been, even in my 30s. And I took a huge bet on myself. And in 4.5 years, 4.25 years, I've been able to build this whole like ecosystem of 15 companies, soon to be 17. It is possible. It is doable. And I just want to share that possibility with people and then also help people understand what I did and how I got here. All right. So that's that. And then to close out, I just wanted to share with you guys that it is really important for me to help people enter the middle class because I inevitably think that people that have financial comfortability are able to have the luxury of thinking for them, like thinking about them, their health and their wealth and their community. It's hard to do that when you're paycheck to paycheck. It's really hard to live, you know, abundantly when you don't have the means to do that. And I mean, I lived in San Francisco making good salary, but because we chose for my wife to stay home with the kids, we were paycheck to paycheck. And it really puts you in a weird mindset. And I think that, you know, helping people enter the middle class is really meaningful for me because then they will be in direct purview of my ecosystem and network. I'll interact with them a lot, meaning my kids will interact with them a lot. And so when I think about why I want to do this is because one, I want to help people follow the American dream like my dad did and was able to with this amazing country. But two, I also want to surround my kids around people that are more financially secure because I believe that people that are more financially secure can start thinking about how to better themselves and how to better their community. How do they get involved and volunteer? How do they donate to nonprofits? How do they give back to their church? I believe that there's a elevation of value that you can provide to the world when you start having more financial security. And so it is kind of selfish, back to being a good dad and providing for my progeny in a way that is more than just money. I want them to be surrounded by people that are thinking about next things, that they're thinking about what's moving and shaking, how to give back, how to be a better human, and all of those elements. And I'm not saying you can't do that when you don't have money, but it's just a lot easier to do when you do. And so that's really it. And so let me land the plane here and close this out and then share with you a little bit more about the season 5 finale on the Girl Dad Show. I'm really excited about November because I'm tired. I'm tired of taking risks. I'm tired of moving at high speed velocity. I'm so grateful for the experience. I never want to do it again. And so what does that mean for me? So November, I'm going to let all the businesses start to cash flow, just meaning that I'm just going to like let it rest for a year with no growth, so that they can start to become profitable. And whatever state they are, they'll just be profitable from there on. And then I'm just going to spend more time operationalizing them and optimizing them to get to profitability faster. Pay off my investors, pay off my debts, and then start to cash flow end of next year through the next couple of years and start to shore up some cash and get myself more financially secure. And then I'm just going to take a hell of a lot less risks. So I think the last 4.25 years have been all about risk taking and saying yes every time I wanted to say no and just kind of going for it anyways, even though it was uncomfortable and unsafe. And I'm excited to live in my normal realm of risk profile because I've been on the edge for sure. And so I think my cortisol level is up for those reasons. So I'm excited to bring that down. And most importantly, I'm really excited to spend a lot more time with my girls and be able to give them the time, both quantity and quality, that I've been striving for to give them. At the end of 5 years, I'm able to do so. And so I'm really excited about it. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I don't think this is for everybody. So by no means am I sharing this to tell you to do it yourself. But I hope that it does inspire you to take a stab at being something more and not being afraid because of your age or because of your situation. By even if I had failed this project and process, I'd still be grateful for it. I just don't want to be 85 years old looking back and going, God, I wish I tried something. And I don't want to have any of those regrets. That's kind of where I'm at. And so I'll just sign off this way with season 5 and sharing with you, like, remember, be smart enough to know the risk, be dumb enough to do it anyways, because everything has risks and you'll never end up doing anything. But the most important thing to do is to try. And you'll be very surprised at what works and what that working leads you to. It can lead you to things that you never even expected. So thank you so much for tuning in, hearing my 5-year sprint. I'm super excited about this being the same timeline as the season 5 of the Girl Dad Show. It's so like amazingly timed. I love it. So I'm grateful for that. And please let me know if you have questions about my 5-year sprint, and go check out episode 1, part 1 of the 5-year sprint, and let me know what thoughts and questions you have. Happy to answer and help. And then as for season 5, this is it. We're going to go into a couple of reruns of some of our more popular shows over the break, and then we will relaunch on Father's Day, June 19th, baby. I'm super excited to relaunch season 6. We have some amazing guests already lined up, and it's going to be an incredible show and season. So I'm excited to keep learning with you guys about parenting and business and life together. And yeah, let's get after it. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Girl Dad Show. We'll see you next season.